From the lush green lands to the cascading waterfalls, wonders of the world, the oldest habitat of territories on earth, rich cultural heritage, a continent of 1.1 billion people, second largest and most populous, a continent pregnant with possibilities, home to 30% of Earth's mineral resources, 50% of its people under 25 years. Africa, the land of the great. Our spirit resilient. Our enterprise profitable. Our future inspiring. Africa is inspiring. Be inspired.
Hello everybody listening to me. It's a privilege to be able to share a few thoughts with you. When I was contacted by the Florence Ozor Foundation to participate in a project that they have of inspiring Africans, I thought it was a very great opportunity that I would not like to let slip by. The issue of Africa is one that has been a passion of mine for many years. And it just occurred to me that what I could do would be to read from a book that I had written. Is this book in my hand. It's called Daybreak Nigeria, This Nation Must Rise. But although it does mention Nigeria on its back page, on its cover page, yet my concerns actually go beyond Nigeria. So you will see as I read from the introduction to this book. What do so many countries, mostly in the West, do right? Or at least, what were they able to do so well in the past to significantly improve the living standards of their populations? How come several Asian countries are also succeeding in turning around their lot and bringing their populations into an era of prosperity? And why have we, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, been unable to do the same? What do we do wrong? Or what crucial notions have we failed to comprehend, imbibe, and successfully apply, thereby ensuring that we remain the poorest, most underdeveloped, most disorganized, most unstable, most disease-ridden, most poverty-stricken region of the world, with unacceptably low and arguably the most deplorable standards of living on the globe? These are the issues this book seeks to grapple with. How, and maybe ultimately, why have others been able to build lasting structures, institutions, and systems that work fairly well, basically, almost regardless of the political leaning of their leaders at any given time, or even of allegations of corruption that might be leveled against them? The facts are clear. In these countries, the streets are kept relatively clean, water flows through the taps, electricity supply is certain, except in unusual cases, and more than a few aspects of life are to a large extent quite predictable. To our shame and consternation, such is not the reality in our own part of the world. In spite of our acclaimed abundant natural resources, which one would imagine were all we needed to exploit in order to effectively improve the quality of our lives. Instead, there appears to be a certain helplessness, an inability to engage with and tame our environment and make it work for us. Most of us continue to go hungry, even though we have an abundance of arable land. We look on helplessly as erosion eats away at the foundations of our homes, which, one after the other, tumble into the yawning gullies. Trekking long distances and spending hours in search of water is a reality that the majority of our population is resigned to. We are at a loss as to how to get rid of the tons of garbage generated daily in our cities. So we condemn ourselves to living with it, letting the foul odor pollute the air we breathe, blending in with and often overpowering the otherwise distinctive aroma of our roasted corn and plantain. The scorching sun upon our heads sends us scuttling for shade during the day, yet we tell ourselves that solar energy is too expensive to invest in, while those in countries which do not have half the sunlight that we enjoy are powering their homes and offices with that form of clean energy. So these are some of the concerns that I have been grappling with in my mind, and these are the concerns that have led me to the writing of the book in my hand. Each of the chapters in the book I'm holding is framed as a question, and I'd like to read those questions to you. First, what did the slave trade do to Africa? And what can Africa do with it? We keep talking about what the slave trade and colonization did to us. Chapter 2, how on earth did others do it? People, countries that were in the same situation with us in the 1960s, in the 1970s, they have left us behind. How did they do it? Chapter 3, what must we do with ethnicity, religion, and culture? There is no doubt that these are shackles holding us down. Certain aspects of them we have allowed to keep us bound and not be able to evolve. Chapter 4, how will we redeem our political culture? It was President Obama who said, Africa does not need strong men. Africa needs strong institutions. How can we make our citizens strong so that they will demand accountability from those who lead them politically? Last chapter, chapter 5, is where do we go from here? So these are questions which for many years have agitated my own mind, and I am sure those of many others like me who are profoundly troubled by the continued reason-defying poverty of African peoples, in spite of the almost unfair share we possess of the world's natural resources, from the diamonds of Sierra Leone to the gold of Ghana and the copper deposits of Zambia, not to mention the black gold and natural gas of Nigeria. The fact that significant development has not occurred in these places, and indeed that they continue to be ranked the worst on practically every single development index, constitutes an enigma which must be unraveled. The questions keep popping up at every turn, and answers just have to be found. Otherwise, we are doomed in Africa. But we cannot accept to be doomed. We must do something. And that is why somebody like me decided to leave my job as a professor in the university and get involved in politics. You see, the politicians determine what happens to us. We must ensure that we get the best people, the right people, into politics. We can sort ourselves out only to a certain degree. In Nigeria, everybody practically owns a generating set because the politicians have not thought it fit to get us 24/7 electricity supply. So we buy our generators and we dig our own boreholes, but we cannot construct our individual roads. We cannot build our individual schools and hospitals. We cannot set up our individual railway systems. We can only help ourselves to a certain limited degree. We must all get interested in politics so that we will ensure that those that we entrust with the task of running our affairs are the best people, are people with integrity and people whom we will hold accountable. And we are not just going to hold them accountable at the end of their term. We will hold them accountable every single day with every single policy they make, every single decision that they take. Because we know that their policies, their decisions affect our daily lives. So that's the challenge I would like to leave with you. And I hope that you will take this to heart and many of us will get involved in working to make our lives better and make the continent of Africa a wonderful place to live in.